Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to a new chess opening theory video. So in this video we're going to discuss the Slav Defense again. Today I wanted to show you a nice and effective way how to beat the Czech variation of the Slav Defense with the white pieces with a nice attacking idea. And this Czech variation is this particular setup when black is taking in the 3 knights variation of the Slav Defense the pawn on c4 and develops the bishop to f5. This is sometimes an unpleasant setup to handle because you have problems to develop the pawn on e4. You have to then also problems to develop the dark square bishop. So in this video we're going to solve this particular setup, in my opinion, very important line that you have to know in your d4 theory. So let's start from the beginning. We have here first of all the move d4. Black's response is the move d5. We play c4, the queen's gambit. We have the queen's gambit, the client, the Slav Defense, knight to f3, knight to f6, knight to c3, the 3 knights variation of the Slav Defense, and now black is playing the move d takes c4. If you don't react correctly, if you play e3 or something immediately, then of course b5 could happen. White would then have positional problems. Black could solve then here the issue on the queen side by pushing the pawn on b5, and then it's very hard to play the move a4. Then black in some lines has also the opportunity to break and enter with the move b4, and similar ideas. Black will have, I think, here a huge advantage on this side of the board. So in order to stop the potential b5 move, we have to play a4 in the first place. Now comes bishop to f5. That's now the position from the beginning, and again many things can go wrong. If you play here immediately something like bishop to g5, then knight to e4 solves again all of the positional problems for black. Black will simply attack the knight. If you play knight takes e4, bishop to e4 is going to happen, and in some lines again black can have a nice grip on light squares. Again you have problems to advance the pawn on e4. That's your main goal, e4 in order to have your powerful central control, because when black is taking here the pawn on c4, we want of course to gain something with our 2 versus 1 pawn majority in the center of the board, because we have 2 pawns in the center, black has only 1 pawn in the center. So our main strategic goal is somehow push the pawn on e4. Let's see now how we can make it work. So as I said, first of all the move a4. Now after move bishop to f5, we play first of all a calm move e3, attacking also the pawn on c4. Now comes e6, we take the pawn on c4, and now comes also a very common idea by black. Black is playing this move very often, bishop to c3, attacks of course the knight and controls indirectly immediately the square e4 that we wanted to push here, because the knight is of course protecting the square. Here we have kingside castling by white, kingside castling, and now we prepare again queen to e2 with this. We prepare again the move e4 with the move queen to e2, again with the same goal, e4, getting the powerful central control. Now for instance, if black continues with the move bishop to g4, you shouldn't be so scared. I think after h3, bishop to h5, and rook to d1, you have good chances, because black's main strategic goal, black's main idea against your particular setup here, is to play c5 or e5. c5 and e5 are the main methods to break your main advantage that you have. As I said in the beginning, we have these 2 pawns against 1 pawn in the center of the board, so we have a strategic advantage in the center. But in order to make something happen, black has to break of course your space advantage. Black can of course maybe try something like knight from b to d7. Now we can advance, and after something like queen to e7, you can even kick away this bishop. You can play knight to h4, but simply attacking now also here this piece, and then also in some lines you can also play bishop to f4 if necessary. First of all, we want to get rid of this bishop, because the bishop is attacking now our pawn on e4. For instance, if e5 happens, then we can break through with the move d5. This position has been reached many times, also in my opinion a good position here for white. So that's why after move queen to e2, instead of this move bishop to g4, black is playing many times the move bishop to g6. Now we attack the bishop. We don't want to tolerate again this very unpleasant bishop that's controlling our e4 square. We want to get, as I said, simply push the pawn on e4, and now black continues with knight from b to d7. We take h takes g6, and now rook to d1, again preventing c5 or e5. These moves are a little bit impossible almost to play here, because if you break and enter here immediately, then we can play simply knight to a2, attack the bishop, and black can never take out the pawn, because the bishop would be then hanging. If black doesn't react, then we'll simply take the bishop on b4, and after c takes b4, we would still continue with our powerful central control. e5, of course, is not possible in this particular position because we can take and the knight cannot take because of the rook's activity against the queen. So after rook to d1, again black is battling against the move e4. Black is attacking now the knight twice with the bishop and the queen, and is basically preventing the move e4 here. But actually my suggestion here is, and that's now the tricky part of this video, we want to play e4 anyway. So my suggestion here is to play e4 immediately. Although your knight is twice attacked, I would suggest you here to sacrifice the pawn just in order to advance the pawns and then continue the game with a beautiful bishop pair. For instance, in many games, instead of this move a4, h3 was played. Garry Kasparov played this move 1994 against Vladimir Kramnik, but the game led again, I think, into an equal position for black, although I will mention also that Garry Kasparov won the game, but I think black can gain equality immediately by pushing the rook to d8 here. You try something like bishop to d2. Again, this method, e5 or c5, black will simply break the position here in the center of the board, retreat. And now after a couple more moves, you look at this, Garry Kasparov was left with an isolated d-pawn, which is of course a strategic disadvantage. And also we have to mention black has a great grip around the square. d5 can play a blockade, can play a nice defensive setup around this isolated pawn, will eventually also play rook to d8 and will simply attack the pawn. As I said, Garry Kasparov won this game, but I think it's very complicated now to play this particular position with the white pieces. So this is something, as I said, that I would not suggest you here to play. So here after move e4, I suggested now in this particular line, for instance, what black could do is immediately to push the pawn on e5. Again, try to break and enter, but now it's a little bit different because we can advance the pawn on d5. If, for instance, bishop to c3 happens, then we can simply play d takes c6. We don't have to pick up the piece immediately. After bishop to d4, now we pick up the knight, and after knight to d7, now I think again it's a good position for us. We have the bishop pair, although black bishop is very, very powerful here, but I think in the next couple of moves we can really get a nice activity. We can eventually maybe even try rook to a3, rook to b3, maybe attacking this pawn. Bishop to d5 is always an option, controlling both of these diagonals. So I think this is a solid position for white with the bishop pair in here an open game. Nothing spectacular gained, but that's our line. If, for instance, black pushes the pawn on e5 immediately, then as I said, d5 solves all of our positional problems. So let's see now what happens if black falls for this. I would call this e4 move even tiny little trap here that you prepare here, because after bishop to c3 and b takes c3, if queen to c3 happens, now the fun starts. That's the position that we want to get. That's a position that I saw in one particular game that we're analyzing now. It's George Stone, a strong master from the USA, against Kleto Dirceu. Here, if queen to c3 happens, then you have beautiful attacking chances with rook to a3, attacking the queen immediately. Here, black tried the move queen to b4, and now we play rook to h3. We sacrifice even the other pawn, but now look at this. Amazing attacking formation. All of these pieces are playing now in beautiful harmony. We still control the center with our two pawns. As I said, you lost two pawns, but it's very hard here for black to make something out of this pawn majority, because black will need many moves in order to make anything on this side of the board. Meanwhile, our attacking chances are really great, especially on the h-file. So our main tactical goal is somehow to get the queen on the h-file and maybe in some lines deliver checkmate. So it's, I think, a beautiful attacking method and a beautiful attacking theme here that George Stone built here. Very, very impressive way how to play. Now, for instance, after queen to a4, we can immediately get rid of this knight with e5. I think here black made a tiny little mistake with knight to d5. Maybe a better way was to play knight to h7. But again, look at this. Bishop to b3. We simply kick away the queen. If black in some lines even tries to trade off the queens to simplify the game, we can even do this, because after b takes a6, we attack simply now new weaknesses that we have provoked in the position. So okay, maybe black has defended this checkmate threats on the h file, but look at this, many weaknesses: a7, a6, c6, 3 weak pawns in the position. Rook from f to d8 probably would be here black's continuation, but now we continue. After something like knight to f8, we attack the rook. Now we cement the bishop here, and now we can pick up this pawn afterwards. Probably these pawns are falling, so I think in the next couple moves we will get both of these pawns, and we'll continue even the game with an extra pawn, which is really crazy because we have sacrificed 2 pawns in the beginning. So very wild stuff. So here in this game that we're following, black made a mistake with knight to d5, and now the fun starts. Look how beautiful this attack can be. After queen to a5, now we get the queen to g4. Now we're trying queen to h4. After rook from a to e8, now comes the bishop to d2, kicking away the queen. The queen has to drop back, and now bishop to c2. Although, as I said, black has this pawns here on this side of the board. This attacking formation is almost unstoppable now. There's nothing that can be done. You can of course try some ideas like f6, but then we'll simply get the queen here, so deliver checkmate. In the game, queen to c7 was played, rook to e1, a5, and now after king to h1, queen to b6. So both players didn't play maybe the most accurate moves now, but now comes a brilliant idea here by George Stone. Bishop to h6, really beautiful piece sacrifice. Let's see what happens if you play g takes h6. This wasn't played in the game, but now rook to h6, then after rook takes g6, the game is over. You're getting checkmate here on h7. So after bishop to h6, what you could try is here maybe the move knight to e5 to play somehow on counter-attack, but now we simply play queen to h4. You have to step back. g4, very important move. If you play, for instance, something like queen takes d4, then this one is working. Queen to e3, bishop to e3 hits the queen, and we're delivering checkmate in the next move. You could maybe try here to play c5 to break and enter like this, but now we play bishop to a6, bishop to a4, hitting the knight on d7, simply pinning the knight. If you try to protect it, then g5 is working, and now bishop to g7 with queen to h7. I think it's again almost unstoppable here for black. Very crazy attacking formation. So what you could do after bishop to h6, you could maybe try rook to e7 somehow to protect it, but now look at this, queen to h4, queen to h6, queen to h7 are simply again winning the game. Very beautiful spectacular move here by George Stone. After bishop to h6 here, queen to d8 was played, bishop to g5, f5, queen to h4, queen comes in a beautiful way into the game. Knight to f6 was tried here by black to somehow stop the progress, but after e takes f6, knight to f6, bishop to b3, king to d6, and king to g1. In this particular position, black resigns. So there's simply too much pressure here around the square e6. The queen is always stuck a little bit to the defense of the pawn on e6. Maybe we can play later bishop to f4. We can always deliver an annoying check, but okay, black has created some breathing spaces for the king, but still with this beautiful bishop pair, I think this is a devastating game. We can also double up rooks now on the e file, putting more pressure against this pawn. So I think it's a fair decision here to resign. So let's repeat in this particular position. After bishop to c3, pardon me, here after bishop to c4, then we can simply here push the pawn on e4. That's the way to go. If black continues with bishop takes c3, then we play b takes c3, queen to c3, rook to a3, rook to h3, and I think you have fun playing this particular line. So okay, this was our now subject for today. Soon with more d4 videos and with some more Slav Defense videos with our preparation in d4 theory. If you want to see more about the Queen's Gambit decline, Slav Defense, and many options that you can have after first move d4, please check out our series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.